Hi, I'm John and welcome to the Jigsaw Puzzler. Today we're going to look at this puzzle here, a 500-piece Mind Bogglers puzzler produced by Hinkler. There are many hundreds of Mind Bogglers puzzles out in circulation. They are at the affordable end of the puzzle spectrum in terms of their cost, and we're going to look at this particular one. It's called Saltwater People and the artist is Stephen Beku. I purchased this secondhand at an op shop, and as soon as I saw it, I thought that is a beautiful puzzle image. I fell in love with the design straight away. Stephen Beku is an Australian Indigenous artist who lives in southeast Queensland on the Gold Coast, and he is part of the Bundjalung Nation, which stretches from northern New South Wales into southeastern Queensland along the coast and as far as the mountain range. This particular design, Saltwater People, reflects he and his people's connection to the sea. It's a very complex image and it is a dot painting. This particular picture, with its vibrant blues and its purples and its contrasting whites, really grabbed my attention, and I thought this would be a fabulous puzzle to do. And we'll see what I thought of that in a little while. I don't do too many 500-piece puzzles, so I thought I'd get this one as a kind of a way of an opportunity to perhaps time myself doing a puzzle. I know that a lot of speed puzzle competitions use 500-piece puzzles for individuals and pairs. So I thought, well, this is an opportunity for me to time myself to see how long it takes me to do a 500-piece puzzle. I was perhaps a little bit naive about my own abilities, tiny bit ambitious. I have done 500-piece puzzles on my own under 2 hours, which is sometimes the limit that speed puzzle competitions have for completing a puzzle. I'm by no means particularly fast puzzle builder, but I thought, well, how long could this take really? I mean, really, it's 500 pieces. It's not that big, and it's 500 pieces. So I thought I'd time myself. The time in the end for me to complete this puzzle was about 5.5 hours, which is extremely slow for me for a puzzle of this size. So I was a bit ambitious with my estimate about my own abilities. However, I persisted with it, and here we are. There are a few things I'd like to say about the quality of the puzzle to begin with. Firstly, being a Mind Bogglers puzzle, I've got a number of other Mind Bogglers puzzles, and I have been really happy with the quality of those. This is a bit different. If I grab another Mind Bogglers, this one here, 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, and we have a look at the pieces, this is more typical of what I expect from a Mind Bogglers puzzle. I've got an edge piece here. It's moderately thin cardboard, not too thin, but not one of the thicker varieties, and reasonably small piece size. If I take an edge piece from this one, or grab the corner there, you'll see that the pieces are quite different in size. The Saltwater People one, much larger pieces. In terms of piece thickness, they are about the same, but with the larger piece size, this really felt like the pieces were very thin. Consequently, I was not happy with the way that the puzzle held together. It seems to have a very loose fit. One of the issues with this particular image is, of course, the fact that it's all these circular shapes with these meandering lines representing the sea, of course. There are two dolphins on it, but until you start constructing it, you're not quite sure which way is up, which way is the top and which way is the bottom. So when I built this, I ended up building it upside down, with the top closest to me and the bottom furthest away. and that's because of the loose fit. If I go to pick this up, it's not going to work. It's going to come to pieces straight away. And what I found was I constructed the border and then found that it was the wrong way round. And because it was such a loose fit and I had piles of things on the board, I just felt that I couldn't turn it around. There was no space, there was no, it didn't hold together well enough for me to be able to rotate the puzzle on the board. So I did it upside down. That was not particularly an extra challenge. It's not like doing a photograph upside down because the image is approximately symmetrical anyway. So you've got these 4 large circular motifs here, a larger different one in the middle, and then 4 slightly smaller ones again, and then a ring of even smaller ones out on the outside, and the 2 dolphins. So in some respects the image was a bit symmetrical, in other respects it's completely not symmetrical at all. Alright, so that's the quality of the pieces. It's a beautiful image. There's no doubt about the fact that this is a work of art. It is amazing, and the quality of the image itself is quite good. On the box, it's very clear, and the colours pop and are really vibrant. On the puzzle itself, it does the same thing. It does pop. It's not blurry, it's not out of focus. It's a good representation of the artwork itself. There are more gradations in colour on the actual work than you see clearly on the box. So for example, the background colour at some points is slightly bluer or slightly more purple than in other parts of the same area of the puzzle, and that doesn't really come out clearly on the image on the box. So how did I actually complete this puzzle? Well, I have a time lapse which I will be putting after this introduction. A couple of things to note about the time lapse though. 2 problems with it. Firstly, there was a lighting problem, and I'm not sure what was causing that problem, but there was a bit of ghosting in the image, and I'm not quite sure what caused that. I haven't changed the settings from previous time lapses. However, it's there. I've done what I can to minimize that. Secondly, the camera stopped. It turned itself off at a particular point in the final section of the time lapse, so we are missing the last bit of the completion of the puzzle. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not going back to redo it because I'm not redoing this puzzle again. It was a challenging image to do, and I really, at the moment, not facing up to redoing this. So how did I do this? Well, there are so many colours that are the same, very, very similar. So many dots that are the same or very, very similar. Whole lines of dots change size from small to large and back to small again. And they follow these curved paths and looping paths all around. As I said before, we have the 2 dolphins around the central motif, and the central motif is different from the others all around it. So it is possible to pick out these elements around the outside here. Likewise, these 4, you can pick out those elements there. Obviously, you can pick out all the edge pieces, which I did do, and I managed to get the whole edge together, but there were a lot of false fits. This puzzle is full of false fits. You had to look very closely and in places, particularly with these tiny dots, to see that you actually had the correct 2 pieces together. So that made it additionally challenging. So I did do the border first, and I got parts of it wrong, which I had to change at a later stage. It was hard to know which way round it went and which was the long side and which was the short sides because of the false fits and the way that it could go together. I'm pleased to say it is complete. Being an op-shop purchase, I got this very cheaply. It was a bargain, and I'm pleased to say that all the pieces were present. So once I did the border, I thought, well, there are these areas of white down the sides, these two large bits here, and some smaller scattered bits throughout the puzzle. And I thought I'd collect those pieces together. So I did make a pile of those. They were harder to put together than you might think, even though there really are only, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. They're completely dotted, 5, 6 partially, and a couple of partials over here, and then partials everywhere else. It was difficult to figure out how they all went together. I did pick out this central motif, and I did pick out the pieces for these 4, and then tried to piece those together. Then I noticed in the picture, and you do have to look closely at this picture to figure out what comes next. And I noticed that there are these green lines, pair of lines with white dots down the center, that only occur here, 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 and here. Just 4 of them. It's the only place they occur on the whole picture. So I picked those out and spent some time piecing those together. So I ended up with 4 motifs and this piece right through the middle, because this one is broken by the 2 dolphins. Then it became obvious what the dolphin parts were. The background behind the dolphin is a really deep, deep blue-purple colour. Much deeper than the colour on any of the rest of it, except perhaps the background of these here. And the dot patterns on the dolphins are very, very small and very even. Unlike these white sections, which are lots of small dots and larger dots all sort of mushed in together, these actually create circular patterns and line patterns with very small dots. So they stood out from the other pieces. So I managed to get them together and to piece the dolphins together. So I had the central motif, the 4 here, the 2 dolphins, and basically a cross through the middle. At that point, I was started to look at these meandering lines here and pull out those pieces. They are white dots with dark purple lines of dots on either side of them. And the only place that large dots with large purple dots on, large white dots with large purple dots appear is in this section here. So I pulled those out. And then I was able to try and make these 4 circles here, the offset ones. They have different motif in the middle, still made of dots, but different colour combination to the 4 corner ones. So I pulled those out, and then I noticed that you could actually pick out which dot was the centre. So I went around and I went through all the pieces looking for the central part of these motifs to build that all together. And then it was time to work on the outer part. I did do the small white dot sections, and then started to tackle this band of white circles linked by white curved or wavy lines. Each one of these is the same. Not exactly the same, of course, because this is a hand-produced painting, and so the dots do vary in size, but the same white circle with a blue ring of blue circles, with a small ring of green circles with a white dot in the centre. The same pattern throughout all of those ones. I did go through all the pieces to try to find the centres, the central piece of every single one of those, and try to put as many of them in place as possible, because a number of them do butt onto the edge pieces which were already there. So that way I could start to piece those together, and then it was just simply laboriously trying to find the next bit, the next bit, the next bit of that lined pattern, until I was left sorting shapes. All these pieces in the middle here started to sort shapes, started to put in these white lines to see if I could make these shapes up here. And then, fortunately, there was a multitude of different piece shapes, so I could put the rest of it together steadily, slowly but steadily, and get the whole thing together. If I wasn't timing it, I probably wouldn't have been quite so concerned about how fast I was going and was I making any progress, and knowing full well that I wasn't making much progress. If I was just doing it in a relaxed, casual kind of way, I think that I might have enjoyed that a little bit more. But it was a challenging image to do, even for a 500-piece puzzle. I don't know what I would do if this was 1,000 pieces, whether I would have picked that up. Maybe I would have picked it up because I liked the image and then got into it and thought, oh, that's a bit hard. But it's certainly a beautiful image. There's no doubt about it. Absolutely stunning, popping with colour. Even though many of the colours blend into each other, really, really lovely image. Really not good quality pieces. Disappointed with Mind Bogglers and Hinkler over that, but I suspect that that's come at a price. They will have had to pay royalties for the image, and that's fair enough because the artist deserves the recognition and compensation for their work. However, it has meant a slightly poorer quality puzzle material than perhaps the image justifies. Would I do it again? Probably not, but I'm glad I have done it, and we're going to have the time lapse in a moment. So if you could hit like and subscribe and leave some comments below about what you think about this image and whether you would tackle it, I'd be interested to hear what other people have to say about it. So thank you for joining us with the Jigsaw Puzzler, and let's go to the time lapse. you.